So according to The Sun, that's a British tabloid newspaper, the Spanish horror movie Veronica is so scary that people aren't managing to finish it on Netflix. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't finish about 99% of what I start on Netflix, but it's not because I'm scared. This is a spoiler review for Veronica, so if you haven't seen it, go and have a look on your Netflix, and unless your soul is stolen by evil spirits, I'll see you in a bit. I hadn't heard about this film before it landed on Netflix, but it's actually directed by one of the co-writers and co-directors of REC. Now, if you haven't seen REC before, what are you doing? I'm disappointed. The first REC came out in 2007 and it's one of the best zombie films ever made. Yes, even better than Redneck Zombies. Its sequels and the American remake Quarantine I wouldn't care about, but REC, the last 15 minutes of REC, intense. Veronica tells the story of a 15-year-old girl growing up without a father whose mum leaves her in charge of her 3 siblings, all younger than her, 2 sisters and a baby brother. Veronica kicks off on the day of a solar eclipse, during which Veronica and 2 school friends decide to perform a seance on a Ouija board, which of course goes completely wrong and brings something very dark and dangerous into Veronica's life. Now, as horror plots go, that's really generic. Dead father, eclipse, Ouija board, possession. I mean, Veronica shouldn't be noteworthy in any way, but it is, and that's because mainly it nails the characters. The kids do a great job, totally believable. Veronica herself is fairly convincing, but her sisters and her baby brother, they're great. I don't know where they found these kids, but I believed right from the start that they were a close family who really cared for each other. So much of this film is by the numbers, but the dynamic between Veronica and her siblings is great. The mum doesn't really have much of a role to play. We never learn why or how the father died. Veronica's school friends disappear after the first act. What makes this film work are those kids, and in particular the way that they just go about having normal conversations and messing around, while for Veronica, their older sister, all this weirdness is starting to happen. But it's not subtle. It's not a subtle film. Neither was REC, I guess. But at the start here, I really thought that the director tonally might have got it wrong. I mean, a milky-eyed blind nun called Sister Death, a possessed Veronica screeching like a dinosaur down in a basement that she clearly shouldn't be able just to wander into. None of it's subtle, except for the tenderness between the siblings, and it's that saves the film. That said, the director does show some really nice flourishes. Right at the start, there's a scream that becomes a yawn as the film flies back 3 days, and the sequence where they try to recreate the seance right at the end is really well done. The camera circling round and round as the tension builds. Although I say it's not subtle, I did fear at points that the script was going to get too allegorical. Right at the start, the film seemed to be pushing the she's too young to have this responsibility on her shoulders narrative a bit too hard. I mean, I like horror films with deep meanings. Last year I loved the coming-of-age horror Raw from France, and also Under the Shadow, another great film with something proper to say. But I think it's to Veronica's credit that it didn't push the significance of her transformation too far. I didn't need everything spelt out. I think the fact that we saw Veronica mothering her siblings was enough to explain why she would want to contact her dad in the first place at the seance. And there's another great scene later on where she turns up at a party and tries to round up her friends, and it really demonstrates the limbo that she's in, premenstrual, and yet, you know, looking after her kids and with all this responsibility on her shoulders. I thought it was well done. I almost lost patience a few times, but managed to cling on. There were too many dream sequences. One is enough for any film. Sister Death, the blind nun, she didn't do much. Also, some of Veronica's reactions strained believability. When your Viking protection symbols burst into flames, do not fob that stuff off. And also, do not entrust the task of drawing them on the wall to your baby brother who can't even read. That's just asking for trouble. Talking of symbols, I like the circle imagery in the film. They were everywhere, weren't they? In the eclipse, in the glass, the top of the glass, on the Ouija board, even in the meatballs that almost choked Veronica. Circles and crosses or crucifixes. Really neat visual language. Whereas the creature design, I can't say he really frightened me, due mostly to his texture. He was a bit leathery, wasn't he? A bit like an old avocado. Maybe they showed too much of him. Certainly nothing like the creature, the monstrosity at the end of Wreck. Oh, Lord. Still get flashes. I can see why a lot of people won't like this movie. In some ways, yes, it's just another tired addition to the domestic haunting genre. But so many horrors I see don't get the basics right, and Veronica, I think, does. Have we seen pretty much everything in this film before? Yes. But I applaud Veronica for its performances and also its restraint. I realised as I was watching the finale that I would have been genuinely upset if she murdered her baby brother. Like, genuinely upset. Apparently it's based on a true story, but I didn't know that going in, and I think the film made a really good decision in making her the only victim. For that I rate Veronica 6 ghost-stained mattresses out of 10. Look, and there's a lesson there. If you do spill a ghost on your mattress, for God's sake, clear it up. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you would like some more, please do the decent thing and subscribe to my channel. I want to be posting every couple of days or so, actually mostly stuff on Netflix at the moment, I think, but love to hear your comments, so please drop them in the box, and let's get a conversation going. Cheers.